because if the appearance is coming across that we're separated, I by no means want that to be out there, but I think the communications is broke somewhere, and I would like to extend my offer as a representative of the fire company to let's get together more often. When you're reviewing plans, boy, it would be sure nice if you can then give the chief officers to talk about.
Sure. Well, and Joe, to answer that, in the past, we set up meetings with both the fire chiefs of both companies, all three companies, on a regular basis. And then after a while, we had trouble getting everybody in the same room at the same time. So they kind of went away.
Well, let's try it again.
Yeah, no, I'm more than happy, and I think Jim is too, to meet with you quarterly, monthly, whatever you guys want to do, discuss what's going on.
Yeah, that might help with the misunderstandings, because I remember
Absolutely.
last year that was a big issue, you know, because the board doesn't understand the dynamics of it, so it makes it hard when one department saying one thing and then, you know, we're hearing the same from you guys, so that would help, yeah. I would be in favor of meeting more.
Thank you. Mr. Rhodes?
Yeah, basically, you're only talking 1,300 hours between those two gentlemen, you know, for the whole year. I'm just doing it if it's $6.20.
$12.60 a week, buddy.
Right.
Yeah.
$2.09 an hour.
Yeah, it comes around 1,300 for both of you.
Yeah, $2.09 an hour.
Yeah, I'm talking that. I'm at, and in reference, like, what was the hourly rate? $22?
22 an hour.
Is that above the salary?
That's only if something special is needed, if we have to go somewhere
Okay, I'm
and attend a
asking
meeting, which
the board. I think
Well,
we normally
they
don't
should
have
be
to.
aware of what's going on.
And I
So
would
I'm asking the
say
board.
that he can answer that question better.
Okay, $22. And reference to clarify something, yeah, Ed Tracy was before that, and before Ed Tracy, it was Ron Scott.
Right.
All right, so I can go back with those two guys, and you're right, that's what they did, but they didn't go to all the meetings because the township and what the requirement now with the state. So I don't, and you're right, you had come in here, you don't use your personal vehicle, you use a vehicle that the township road department had that you have to go around. So for the public knowledge on that, the vehicles, you don't use your own personal vehicle. The majority of the time, you use the vehicle that the township supplies. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? All those in favor? Aye. 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 Motion passes 5-0. Police Department, we have full-time police officer Justin Fonock resigned his position, effective today, January 4th, 2016. I have a letter here. Approval to hire a full-time officer to replace him. I make a motion to hire part-time police officer Francis J. O'Donnell, a full-time police officer at the rate of $27.43 per hour per the CBA.
Second.
Comments or questions?
That's
In
just,
the back? Yeah.
that's just promoting a part-time officer to full-time, we're not
Correct.
actually adding an official, that's what
No,
it is, okay.
to replace the full-time officer that resigned.
Gotcha.
Other questions? Mrs. Scott, you had your hand
Yeah,
up?
on my notes, there's a John O'Donnell, there's not a Francis J. O'Donnell.
His legal name is Francis.
Pardon?
His
His
legal name.
is Francis.
Okay, well, all right, I didn't know whether it was another person, being John O'Donnell versus Francis J. O'Donnell. Okay, so right now he's part-time
Correct,
and you're making him full-time.
correct.
And by what, why do we need another full-time?
To replace one that just resigned.
And, okay, so full-time, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 full-time officers?
Correct.
Counting, okay, not counting the chief. So we have 8 full-time.
Correct.
Okay,
It's keeping it at the same level.
okay, I would recommend that that individual remain part-time, and this would be a means of, for a year, looking at if we can operate with one less full-time officer. I think that it's an ideal time to function in that manner. Give it a year, see how things work.
How would you, I mean, you made that comment, Sharon, I'll ask you, how would you staff it then? If you're, to get proper coverage from the township?
Well, you would well, let the chief, does he decide he decides the schedule? The chief handles that? And then let the
Essentially,
chief
yes, but
report?
you're still, you're operating short then. To me, I mean, any,
Possibly,
to
possibly.
not replace a full-timer when a full-timer leaves is the same as cutting the police department. There's no difference.
Well, I have my view on it and you have yours. I would say it gives you an opportunity, gives the chief, I would, require the chief to manage with 7 full-time officers. And the current part-time, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Real simple, just couldn't that same exact point be addressed with all due respect by considering that you're taking a part-time officer away, therefore reducing the force? You're already taking half of it away, so it's more of a compromise in that sense. You're already seeing for a year,
It's already
taking
a
away
win.
from 1 half less.
It's already a win-win, let it go.
Exactly. We just move on.
Mr. Rhodes?
Anything, the part-time officer, does he, I know you, Mr. Porter, you're dealing with whatever number of part-time, and they all evidently work for another department. And so it's tough doing the scheduling when they work for whatever township or borough. So basically, yeah, the part-time does come in handy, because I happen to know you have one or two full-time out on disability. And we have, you know, I don't know exact number, but I know at least one that I know of. And then in the past, we had some police officers out for over 2 years, all right, full-time. So therefore, the part-time does come in handy to fulfill the obligation that we have to protect the township. So thank you. So you're hiring just a part-time officer at this time?
No, I hired a full-time to replace the full-time that
Promoting,
resigned.
promoting a part-time officer to full-time.
Oh, you got this O'Donnell gentleman.
Yes.
And what other township does he work for before he came here?
Before he came here?
Yeah.
Right now, he's working for South Coast for part-time,
Oh, okay, all right.
and that's it.
I know. All right, thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
I would just
Real
add,
quick, Mrs. Scott.
South Coatesville is run by Alan Novak.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor? Aye.
This is like a Saturday
I'll cancel HBO.
Aye. Is there 3 days?
Yes.
Okay. What do you guys want to do then?
I'll make a motion. I make a motion to hire Lewis Wilson for the position of part-time police officer effective January 5th, 2016, at the hourly rate of $25 per the CBA. Do I have a second? Any questions?
Is this
Yeah.
somebody who's interviewed, somebody who's
Yeah.
worked with
Is
the
this
chief?
person, is,
I would bring them to you if I thought they were a qualified person. Lou Wilson is the chief of South Coatesville, who has a full-time position there. This is who I'm recommending.
Ed, have you talked to Lou Wilson about coming onto our force?
Obviously.
I always research something before I make a motion, I just didn't pull it out.
Do you think it'd be wise to run it by the chief before you do that? Or just,
As far as hiring, I mean, I'm being asked the question whether do I want to hire or not.
Is Lou Wilson here?
no.
So we don't even know if he wants the job. He's never saying, I saw him this morning, he didn't say nothing to me.
I spoke on time.
So I would say, I mean, you know, obviously, any department we hire, whether it is the office, the road crew, police department, any personnel matter needs to be discussed with the leader of that department. In this case, the chief of police, and just coming in with a motion to hire Lou Wilson part-time, who's the chief of South Coatesville, to me is undercutting him right there, who we trust and rely on to run our police department.
I just have a motion on the table, that's all, I mean.
What are your motives, Ed?
What are my motives?
Yes, to hire Lou Wilson as a part-time police officer, who's the chief of police in South Coatesville, and does not vote for Johnny, who's sitting right there.
You just hired him as a part-time snowplower, for God's sake.
Motion's made.
entertain a motion, I have a second, I mean, Mr. Scott?
Oh my goodness. Number one, do you realize what you're doing? I mean, Mrs. Culp, your first day on the board, you just took the wind out of the police department sail. A gentleman who has been a committed part-time police officer, you always promote from within. And you have the audacity to say no to somebody that has already been here fighting for this township. And the other three who descended, I can't believe you would do that. You are just doing nothing but creating turmoil. Mr. Porter, I completely agree with you wanting to be fiscally responsible, but what you're doing is ludicrous. And then to have the audacity to undermine your police chief, to bring in a police, first of all, any other police chief in this township that would want to come to step back and become a part-time police officer, if they need to do that to make ends meet, that's fine. But Mr. Wilson should have been in this audience, as Mr. O'Donnell is, trying to get a full-time job. It's just absolutely, I can tell you right now, well, the hospital that I helped run would never tolerate some of the nonsense that goes on here.
Is there any questions? Sure, Mr.
Yeah, I would just like to put on record that for this township, I did leave a different municipality because there was trouble getting other part-timers to work to fill in a spot. Okay, I left that and now I might be getting kind of screwed here. I work for Lou Wilson, and there's another way that right there, he's going behind me and screwing me there. Okay, so I guess I'm possibly out 2 jobs here. I don't know what else. I've been here for 2 years. Like I said, Chief Porter and I, we were having trouble filling spots because we all do. I worked 3 jobs at one point, trying to make a living. And I left one job so that I could help this township and this department out. Okay? And because some of the other guys are not available because they have families, they have 2 and 3 other jobs, they're out there fighting to get a full-time job as well. Okay, so I'm here getting rammed in 2 different ways. I just want you guys to know what's going on. I'm not looking for a whole lot. I just want you to know that that's what I did to get us here.
And just to relay some information to the board here, he's worked for us for 2 years. He's dedicated himself, quit a part-time job to work more hours here to help us out. And I brought him to you like I have everybody in the past. And everybody in the past had worked perfectly here. Now all of a sudden, the people that I don't bring are good enough.
I didn't say it.
Well, I think maybe Mrs. Culp should be voting before Mr. Porter. She wouldn't swing with me. Ooh, ridiculous.
I'm not understanding something. I deal with staffing and manpower all the time. So we have someone here that's a part-time employee that knows the township, knows the system, and he's willing to quit his other part-time job to become full-time here. That's number one. Number two, Mr. Porter, you said yourself that in the development of the budget, you asked for the department heads to give you what their requests are.
No, I didn't, the treasurer did. I didn't ask the department.
Semantics. Thank you.
Well, no,
Semantics.
the
You know,
actual-
the board is asked of the department heads for what their budget requests are for the next year.
Sure.
Okay? And then it's voted on, it's brought out to the public. I don't understand where all of a sudden you, instead of going to the head of a department for a recommendation for an employee, do you feel that you're qualified to overstep the person that's running the police department in this township and just recommend anybody? I mean, grant, you know, the chief down in South Coatesville does a good job in South Coatesville. But why would he want to step back from his position over there to become a part-time guy here? You know, he's gonna do full-time down there and part-time here?
And plow snow.
I mean, I don't.
And plow your snow.
And plow the snow. I mean, you know, what's he gonna do? You know, strap a broom to his leg and sweep the floors on the way out? I just don't understand what your logic is to recommend someone to work in another department when, you know, maybe you would say to the chief of police, hey, I mean, I hire people all the time. someone comes to me and says, hey, I work with the state of New York, can you hire me? Well, I'm gonna take his information, I'm gonna pass it to the person that works in that area. I'll go from the Philadelphia office to the people that run the New York office and say, look, I got this guy, I worked with this guy before, take a look at him. Not just stand there and say, hey, I'm gonna hire the guy and go work up in New York now. That's a little, I think somebody said something about an agenda. It seems like there's an agenda there to bring another guy that's a chief of police somewhere else in to tell our chief, undermine our chief, who's doing a great job, and all the officers are doing a great job.
Yeah, and I'll say this, Johnny does a great job as a part-time officer, and the gentleman he would be replacing, Justin Fonock, did a great job in this department as well. They're both very loyal to our township. Fonock come on for 4 years before he got full-time. Johnny's been with us 2 years, and we're looking to get him full-time. And to be quite honest, the right thing to do is to promote Johnny to full-time.
It just doesn't lead to logic that a supervisor, I really, Ed, Mr. Porter, I don't know what you do for a living, but I'm assuming that it has nothing to do with policing or whatever. I don't, like I said, I deal with large engineering contracts, but I don't know anything about policing. I don't know what makes a good police officer. So I'm not gonna go in there and say, hey, you should hire this guy. Maybe I'll go to the chief and say, hey, somebody's expressed their interest in coming over and doing part-time work. Here's his resume. You know him, go talk to him.
Sure.
Not just come in and undermine the whole thing. It just seems, if you got a chief here and a chief here, you're gonna bring that chief in. I don't know, something's not right there.
And what's gonna happen is, all these rumors float about reducing the full-time police department. That's why we're losing one of our full-time officers now. So if officers know that if they don't trust the board of supervisors in East Fallowfield, they're gonna be less inclined to come here, because they're gonna think they're on their way out too. So what you guys need to do, and Ed, I would ask you to rescind your motion to hire Lou Wilson as a part-time officer, and bring back the motion up to hire Johnny full-time, is you want that trust for all your departments to have for the board of supervisors. And quite honestly, I don't think they trust this board.
Jeff, I'm willing to drop my benefits for John, to bring him on, my health benefits.
What does that tell you?
If somebody reported off sick, 3 hours later you call John, can you make it into work? Yeah, I'll be there. That's the most dependent guy I ever seen. And I'm willing to drop my benefits, my health insurance.
And if you take them up on that, I don't know what to think about you people.
I mean, if you're looking for a fiscal reasoning to do this, I think Ed is just absolutely phenomenal. He would recommend that, and he would take that on. But again, Mrs. Culp, you voted no. You're the second no. Only you speak. Why is your reasoning no? Tell me why you would not vote yes for Officer O'Donnell. Without listening to the other 4 people, your reasoning, first day on the job, tell me why you said no. Nothing personal against him.
I know Donnie. I do know him.
So why?
I thought if we already had one officer stepping down, then we could just replace him with a part-time officer and help with our budget.
And so this will go as a learning experience to you. Don't vote no or vote yes for something you know. You can abstain from a vote. There's a learning point. You can abstain from a vote.
First day.
Well, you can't.
So, it is first day. But you should not vote no.
She doesn't have a financial conflict, she can't abstain. She has to vote yes or no. If she has a financial conflict, she can't abstain.
She doesn't understand that you're really it's a wash because you're going from part-time to full-time. You're not replacing a part-time. It's a wash on your hours worked per day, per week.
Thank you.
The board's going down the wrong road of creating so much turmoil now. What you've done in the last 15 minutes, you're going to play heck, trying to regain it.
I appreciate all the comment, but in reference to your, employment, I employed about 300 guys for the union. Also, I have a criminal justice degree in criminal justice at the University of Delaware, so I do know about police work. In reference to Lou Wilson, he is a chief in South Coastal. Evidently, he's doing a good job. He's been there for 25. His uncle was the chief of police here, Mickey Wilson. Before him, there was Frank Markwood. Before him was Ray Jackson, the first
You don't need a history lesson.
No, I can give you. No, hey, you can't take a comment. They can say what they. I have a voice at this time.
Okay,
all right?
can we keep
Well,
on track?
Somebody was talking 10
Okay.
minutes, I'd like to at least have 3
Did not
minutes,
talk 10
all right?
minutes.
In reference
Three
to
and a
the,
half minutes.
in reference to the hiring of the police officer, I had nothing against the gentleman, he's been out on quite a few incidents, all right? And said something about he had 2 or 3 jobs. Is he gonna just have 1 job, or is he gonna be working part-time somewhere else? That's another question we have. A lot of our full-time, sometimes they work part-time somewhere else. And that causes a problem for the chief, already, whoever's doing the scheduling. In reference to Lou Wilson is also a resident of this township, all right? And I don't know what the situation was with, coming on the part-time. Yes, I agree with Carol and some of the other gentlemen about one thing. Yeah, we are looking at that. You're gonna keep the same amount of men. And I'm sure this gentleman here would love to have a full-time job, because evidently he works 2 or 3 other part-time jobs to make it go. But there's a lot of other residents out there who are trying to make a go of it too. And at one time, you're not cutting the police force, basically. The chief also knows the manpower right now, he's using a lot of the part-time people to cover up for some of the full-time people, all right? And he knows that well as I do, all right? So I would suggest, whatever the board, the motion was put on the floor, we can have shooting matches back and forth here all night. I think the motion was put on the board, and for you gentlemen and ladies to make the decision. Thank you.
Just one comment, Mr. Rhodes, when you say that it's not a reduction to the police department, it is in fact, if you don't replace Officer Fonock, a reduction in the police department by 84 hours every 2 weeks. So it's a huge reduction, and when you say that we already have part-timers covering a lot of the shifts, no, basically, if you want to know the truth, we've got 1 part-timer covering all the shifts right now, and that's him.
I don't know what happened to you. No.
The other 2
Chairman,
can't make it
I
happen.
was
Yeah, because they're not available. John has made it, I'm sorry, I was speaking,
I'm talking,
but I was speaking to the audience.
Buddy, you asked for time, now it's her time.
All right, well,
Mr. Chairman, unless you want people like us to run the
Well, he has a
meeting,
gavel,
please
not
run
you.
me.
He has a
Chairman,
gavel, not you.
Individuals should not speak against other individuals. Individuals should speak to the board.
God.
I'm not gonna talk about Ellen Deb, I promise.
Did you have anything more to say?
I just wanted to say that there's a misconception of the fact that if you don't replace the full-time employee, that you're not doing a reduction to the police department, because you are, and as I said, it is 84 hours every 2 weeks of manpower that you will not have cutting that position. And again, I just wanted to reiterate that the fact is, maybe we have four part-timers, we have 1 part-timer that is readily available to us 24/7, and that is him. He has proven himself. There's no learning curve, there's no training, there's nothing. He can hit the ground running. Do not reduce the police department. It's just, again, please do not. Mrs. Cole, please seriously think about the fact that they cannot take a reduction. And that is, in fact, cutting services.
Mrs. Scott, just real quick.
Thank you.
She had her hand up first.
I would educate and/or remind the board and the public that when we acquired a chief of police, Master Phone was acting chief. It never went out for applications from any surrounding any place. So it was never advertised, and definitely Mr. Porter does not have any experience as a chief. That's
I got
point
5
number one.
years.
Before you were hired as chief. Number 2, an incident when I was called upon 911 regarding the matter. Master Phone was acting chief. Lou Wilson came, I don't know why, South Coatesville. He came from South Coatesville with Officer Mena. There were, every time I went over to the police department to inquire what's the result of the police coming to my home regarding the matter. Master Phone sat in his car and wouldn't even talk to me.
Okay, this has nothing to do with
No,
hiring
and
another officer.
but
Do you have a point-
Officer
do you have a
Mena
point
was
about
not
the motion?
available.
Do we have Robert's rule in this
Do
meeting?
you have a point about the motion?
You can use them, Robert.
Thank you. Mr. Hammond?
Technically, you are reducing the force by making the part-time officer a full-time officer, because you're reducing a half of, you're reducing a part-time position. Because there's no motion to make him full-time and hire a new part-time. So you are reducing the force by half the position, or however many hours it is. So, filling him, making him that has given his service to this township, making him a full-time, I mean, that really goes without question. Now you're not bringing anyone else, he's still gonna be part-time until he gets totally disgusted with everybody and he goes and finds a full-time job somewhere else. But you're just promoting him to full-time, and you're reducing that half-time position. So you are making, there is some kind of small savings in there.
I would like to say, please rescind your motion, Mr. Porter. I do not want Lou Wilson as a part-time officer here. I do want to let the board know that hiring Mr. O'Donnell full-time is only a couple dollars more an hour, which comes in as a Class C officer. He also comes in as a very well-trained officer and can handle all aspects of this job. I ask the board, please, hire Mr. O'Donnell.
Any other questions? All those in favor?
Nay.
Aye.
Do the right thing, Mr. Galt. Nay.
Chuck?
What was your vote?
I whispered an aye. I might add.
We're on the motion. Lou, it's the motion to hire Lou.
Well, I'm nay, so.
If you, oh my
You
God.
said nay? What, you, Chuck? I said nay. All right.
Thank you. Thank you.
Unbelievable that Board of Supervisors.
Wait, just
They hiring Lou Wilson?
Go ahead.
I'll re-motion to hire part-time police officer Francis J. O'Donnell to full-time police officer at the rate of $27.43 per hour per the CBA.
Second.
Comments or questions? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
What do you guys got against cops? I'm kidding. What are you guys doing?
If you have nothing against it, Mrs. Coleman, do the right
That's
thing.
right there.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right, what's the hidden agenda?
What is the agenda?
What-
Just to clarify,
Chief, what is it?
what happened with Lou Wilson? Did we make a vote and motion on that?
Yes.
Clear for the minutes.
They did, yeah, they voted in the past 3 to 2.
planned.
This is where,
Yeah.
Where's the guy from the Daily Local at?
yeah.
Exactly.
All right,
I'm gonna
well,
call
let's,
him. So incredibly dirty.
I agree, let's move on.
Filthy.
What just happened?
They just voted a chief of police from another.
The Board of Supervisors has just created such a turmoil in this township, and Mrs. Culp, God bless you, your first day on the job, you've done nothing to ruin the township. I'm sorry, you guys are wrong for what you're doing, absolutely wrong.
Lou Wilson was a
Absolutely what you're wrong you're doing.
Yeah, but you don't need your boss daily. You gotta hire, I am. I know, where's that kid tonight? What a joke.
Wait for everybody to clear out. Let's leave it.
Unbelievable.
I make a motion to appoint the following police officers as presented in the agenda. Second?
Okay, you're just gonna, it's,
Yeah.
okay, I
The
understand.
rates, yeah, everything.
I'll second it.
Comments or questions?
Could you just read the names
I'm trying to-
and the position?
Sure. Chief of Police, Christopher Porter. Full-time Police Officer Sergeant Edward Masterphone. Full-time Police Officer Samantha Harper. Full-time Police Officer Brian Simmons. Full-time Police Officer Kevin Simmons. Full-time Police Officer Richard McAllister. Full-time Police Officer Gina Mallory. Part-time Police Officer Alan Haldeman. Part-time Haldeman, sorry. part-time police officer Mark McKinney, and part-time police officer John Rappel.
And also part-time officer John O'Donnell.
And part-time officer John O'Donnell, yeah, it's down on here. Thank you.
Continue to lose good officers, gentlemen.
Yeah,
With your decisions.
Yeah, you.
Any other comments or
Exactly, Joe.
questions? Podium.
Oh my God.
right.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye. So,